You know who it is, everybody. I am back once again with another tutorial about this wig. Today I'm going to show you how I assembled this wig, how I stitched it together. Check it out. Alright, so here's my frontal. Right now I'm just putting it on the head and pinning it, and what I'm about to do is just braid the hair up so that it's out of the way. Now that that's done, I'm putting on this spandex cap. I don't know why they make these caps so tiny, but it works because it's actually really only going to be sitting on the back of my head, as you can see here. What I'm going to do right now is figure out where I want my frontal to lay. So I want to make sure that the frontal hairline is a little ahead of my natural hairline. And I'm going to use these pins, which are really for like clothes or whatever, but you know, wig, clothes, same thing. I'm going to take these little tiny pins and very carefully attach the frontal to the cap where I want to stitch it. Please be very careful with this because you can stab yourself. Also, you want to make sure that you don't pin your natural hair to the cap, of course. But this will just give you a rough idea of where the frontal should lay. So I'm doing one pin on each side and then one at the top in the middle. Now I'm returning the cap to the wig head and I'm going to begin stitching the frontal on. So I'm going to start stitching from one side and go up to the middle. I'm going to tie it off and cut it there, and then I'm going to start stitching up the other side. Of course you can stitch all the way across, but for some reason this just felt easier for me. Also, I want to make sure both sides are even. And now we can start stitching on our tracks. So these tracks I've used before and I've cut them. Normally I would do the fold over method, but in this case they're already cut, so I'm just going to use them as is. And I'm going to take that first track and put it just under the band on the back. You guys have seen me do this on all of my other wigs. I always do that initial track under the band. Now keep in mind, when you sew on this band, you don't want to sew through the elastic. You're really just sewing through that material around the elastic band, because you still want to have that stretch from the band. And from here I'm just going to continue to sew tracks up the cap. Keep in mind, while this head is about the same size as mine, it's not shaped exactly the same. So you want to make sure that the front of the wig is laying on the head as it would your own. You don't want the hairline too far forward because you'll end up laying the tracks incorrectly and they may not hang right. And here's a closer look of how I stitch my tracks. I do pull the needle through the loop each time, and that helps to keep it neat and just straight across the track. I'm pretty much doing a semicircle until I get closer towards the frontal, and then I just start doing them straight across.
Perfect.
Alright, now that the stitching is done, we're gonna try the wig on again. And now it's time to cut out the space for my ears. So pin that top hair back out of your way. So you see how the lace is still hanging over my ear? We're basically gonna cut a hole out for my ear. So I'm parting the hair where my ear is, and that's going to be the piece of lace that I'm going to cut. So just be very careful when you're cutting. You don't want to cut your ear, and you also don't want to cut the wrong hair. Now it's time for plucking. I'm not going to get too detailed with the plucking in this video. I'll do a dedicated video for that soon. But for now, I'm just kind of parting out my baby hair. I don't really have a specific method for plucking. I just kind of do what looks best. Also, you may notice I'm plucking with, I actually think these tweezers came with some eyelashes. So they're like the really skinny, pointy ones. I prefer the regular tweezers, but I can't find mine, so gotta work with what you got. Alright, so now that the wig is back on my head, I'm cutting the rest of the lace. So at this point, I'm starting to gel down I'm really going to call them edges because I really didn't cut them too short, but I like to gel them down first to see how I want them to lay before I cut them. So off camera I ended up tweezing the hair a bit more. I also didn't record how I made the wig stick in the front, so I'll be doing another video on that also. And this is the finished look. Thumbs up if you found this helpful, and if you like this pink wig. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and if you haven't already, make sure you click the notifications button so you don't miss a thing. And I'll see you guys in the next one.